There are wounds that don't come from a breakup, but from our minds refusing to let go of someone who has already left. Many people believe that time heals everything, yet they remain haunted by regret, longing, and hope for something that no longer belongs to them. We relive the pain, torment ourselves, and wonder, why can't I be happy? In truth, happiness doesn't come from holding on to the past, but from our ability to focus on ourselves and let go of what we cannot control. Stoicism, a philosophy ancient yet timeless, teaches us how to face our emotions, neither running from them nor letting them rule us. Then you'll realize true peace only comes when you learn to let go, heal yourself, and live in the present. Today, I'll share with you 10 Stoic principles to help you rise after heartbreak, regain your strength, and find peace within. Before we begin, leave a comment. Let go to live, and let's get started with Rule number 1. Accept what's out of your hands. There's a silent pain that lingers longer than heartbreak itself, the ache of wanting to change something or someone that simply isn't within your power. If you've ever lain awake, replaying conversations, wishing you could have said something differently or done something more, you know this feeling. It's the restless urge to rewrite the past or to reach into someone else's heart and nudge it your way. The truth is, no matter how deeply you care, you cannot control another person's feelings, actions, or choices. The more you try to hold on, the more you lose yourself in the struggle. Imagine this: you keep checking your phone, hoping for a message from someone you care about deeply. Maybe it's a close friend who's grown distant, or a loved one whose warmth has faded. You send a heartfelt message, pouring out your feelings, hoping for understanding, for closure, for anything that proves you still matter. But there is only silence in return. Each minute of waiting grows heavier, filling your mind with doubts. Did I say something wrong? Should I try harder? It's so easy to spiral into self-blame, to feel invisible and unworthy. But here's the gentle yet powerful truth. What you seek from others is not always in their hands to give, and not in your hands to demand. The only thing you truly have power over is yourself, your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. The more you try to control the uncontrollable, the more you surrender your own peace. Every moment spent waiting for someone else to choose you or to recognize your worth is a moment stolen from your own growth. The ancient wisdom shines a light on this dilemma. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." How often do we hand our peace over to circumstances or people who are beyond our control? We let someone's silence decide our self-worth, or let a lost relationship define our future. But the moment you recognize the line between what is yours to change and what is not, you reclaim your power. This acceptance isn't about resignation or giving up. It's about freedom. It takes courage to admit that some things, especially other people, are beyond your influence. It's not a weakness to let go. In fact, it's an act of strength. Accepting what's out of your hands means allowing yourself to step out of the cycle of blame and regret. It means turning your focus inward, asking, what can I do for myself right now? How can I nurture my own heart, regardless of who stays or leaves? That is where healing begins. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to force outcomes that were never yours to control. When you accept that you cannot change others, You free yourself to change your own life. The energy once spent trying to fix, chase, or explain can now be invested in building resilience, practicing gratitude, and embracing the present moment. You learn to love without attachment, to wish others well even as you walk your own path. In this acceptance, you find peace, and in peace, you find the strength to grow. When you finally allow yourself to let go of what you cannot hold, happiness finds its way back to you, not as a reward, but as a natural result of living true to yourself. Rule number 2. Stop romanticizing what hurt you. It's strange, isn't it? How our minds cling to memories, but not just any memories, the most beautiful, glittering moments, polished until they shine brighter than they ever did in reality. When we look back, especially after heartbreak, we often find ourselves lost in a haze of nostalgia. We remember the gentle words, the quiet dinners, the laughter that once filled our lives. The mind, in its desperate search for comfort, filters out the loneliness, the cold silences, and the tears we tried to hide. This isn't just a habit, it's a trap. Think of Luke's story. After his breakup, Luke could only recall the excitement of those first dates, the warmth of whispered "I love you," the small adventures that made him feel alive. In moments of doubt, his mind would replay those scenes like a movie he never wanted to end. But beneath that golden glow were shadows he tried to ignore. The nights he waited for a reply that never came. The sharp ache of realizing his feelings were no longer reciprocated. The hurtful words, the emotional distance, the silent suffering that slowly wore him down. For every memory that made his heart ache with longing, there was another he chose to forget, a truth that hurt, but also set him free when he finally faced it. Why do we do this to ourselves? Perhaps it's easier to hold on to a dream than to accept that what we lost wasn't perfect. Maybe we're afraid to admit that we deserved better all along. But as Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it." These words cut through the illusion. We suffer not because the past was flawless, but because we cling to a story we've rewritten in our minds. The pain lingers only as long as we let our imagination repaint what hurt us in soft, forgiving colors. The way out is honesty, brutal, liberating honesty with ourselves. We must see both sides of our story, the laughter and the loneliness, the sweetness and the pain. Only when we stop idealizing what broke us can we truly let go. This is not about bitterness. It's about giving ourselves the clarity and respect we deserve. It's a quiet act of courage and a necessary step on the path to healing. But even after facing the truth, the heart needs more than just realization. Sometimes, the only way to clear the fog of old feelings is to step back, create space, and let your mind breathe again. In the next part, we'll uncover why distance is not just avoidance, but a powerful tool to regain clarity and how it can change everything you feel. Stay with me for Rule number 3. Create distance to regain clarity. There is a quiet pain that lingers when we cannot let go, and often that pain is kept alive not by memories alone, but by the presence of someone who has already stepped out of our lives. The lines between past and present become blurred when we allow ourselves to linger in the shadows of old connections, checking their Instagram stories, rereading late-night conversations, or hoping for a digital sign that they think of us too. We believe that holding on to these small threads brings comfort, but in truth, they only keep our wounds open and raw. Creating distance is not an act of coldness or denial. It is an act of courage, an essential step toward healing. When you continue to expose yourself to reminders, no matter how subtle, your mind remains clouded. Your heart cannot tell where longing ends and reality begins. The truth is, clarity is born from space. When you allow yourself to step back, both emotionally and physically, you grant your soul the breathing room it needs. Just as a fog only clears when the air is still, your heart finds peace in silence and separation. It is tempting to convince yourself that staying connected is harmless. You might think, I just want to know if they're happy, or I can't erase our memories just like that. Yet, this constant reaching backward holds you in a place where you are no longer living your own story. Every time you revisit an old message or glance at their profile, you are quietly telling your mind that your past is more important than your future. You are letting someone else occupy your thoughts, sometimes even your self-worth, without them even being aware of it. This is the invisible thread that keeps so many from moving forward, even when the relationship itself is over. Real distance is an act of self-respect. It means giving yourself permission to heal, even if it feels like a loss at first. Think about the relief that comes when you finally decide to unfollow, to delete the old conversations, to stop searching for their name in your notifications. There is a lightness, a sudden space where pain once lived, and in that space, new things can grow: self-understanding, new joys, renewed confidence. Creating distance is not about pretending you never cared. It is about remembering that you deserve clarity, peace, and a future that is not dictated by echoes of what once was. Only when you truly step back can you see your own life with new eyes and discover the happiness that has been waiting for you all along. Rule number 4. Master your reactions, not their behavior. Have you ever wondered why certain words or actions from others can ruin your entire day, while the same things might not affect someone else at all? The truth is, our suffering rarely comes from what actually happens. It comes from the meaning we attach to those events. The way we interpret what unfolds around us shapes our emotions, our thoughts, and even the direction of our lives. When we cling to the hope of controlling how others behave, how they speak to us, whether they stay or leave, how they show care, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment and endless anxiety. Imagine this. You walk into a room and see a friend turn away without greeting you. Instantly, your mind fills with stories. Maybe they're upset with me, or I must have done something wrong. You start replaying every conversation in your head, searching for a mistake. The truth is, there are 1,000 reasons someone might act distant that have nothing to do with you. Maybe your friend is tired, distracted, or fighting their own battle. But the moment you decide their behavior is a reflection of your worth, you give away your peace. You become a prisoner of someone else's mood. It's easy to believe that if only people acted the way we hoped, life would be easier. But the only real power you have is over your own response. You can't control the silence of someone who once shared their secrets with you. You can't change the way someone loves or the way they leave. What you can control, though, is the story you tell yourself when faced with their actions. You can choose to see their distance as rejection or as a sign that you now have the space to grow on your own. You can take their silence as an insult or as a reminder to find your voice and stand your ground. Learning to master your reactions isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending you don't care. It's about noticing your first thought, questioning it, and choosing not to let it define you. When you pause, breathe, and look at a situation with clarity, you find freedom. No longer do you have to spiral into self-doubt every time someone disappoints you. No longer must you wait for others to give you closure or approval. The process is gentle but powerful. Accept that you can't change anyone else. You are responsible only for the space inside your own mind. With practice, you realize peace doesn't come from getting others to act the way you want. It comes from learning to respond with compassion for yourself and for others. It means letting go of the urge to control and instead choosing the strength to respond wisely. This is how you reclaim your happiness, by mastering your reactions, not their behavior. Rule number 5. Redefine love. There's a moment, perhaps more than once in a lifetime, when we realize our definition of love has been quietly shaped by longing, expectation, and the fear of being alone. We chase after echoes of affection, believing that love must be reciprocated to be real, that our feelings only matter if someone else validates them. But what if love, in its truest form, is not a transaction, but a gift? What if the strength of your love is not measured by what you receive, but by the courage to give, even when nothing returns? Think about the times you loved with all your heart, when you cared for someone deeply, offering attention, kindness, and hope, only to find that your feelings were not returned. Maybe it hurt, maybe it felt like rejection. In those moments, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing your love was wasted, or that you were foolish for opening your heart. But this is not true. The act of loving in itself is never pointless. When you love honestly, without expectation, you are living in alignment with your truest self. You are showing up for your own heart, nurturing your ability to feel deeply and connect sincerely. This is the kind of love that does not bind you to the past or trap you in longing for what might have been. It frees you. When you let go of the need for your feelings to be mirrored, you reclaim your power. You are no longer a prisoner of someone else's choices or of your own hopes and fears. Love becomes a force that makes you stronger, not weaker. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you to appreciate the beauty of giving, to find meaning in your own capacity to care, and to recognize that your worth is not dependent on whether someone else chooses you. In redefining love, you are also redefining yourself. You are learning that heartbreak is not the end of your story, but a chapter in your journey. Every time you choose to love bravely, even if it goes unreturned, you become more whole. You gain clarity, empathy, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are enough, all on your own. Instead of asking, was it worth it? You begin to see that loving is always worthwhile, because it is part of becoming the person you are meant to be. And so, as we reach this point in our journey together, I want to thank you for staying with me through the first half of this video. Your willingness to reflect, to listen, and to heal is powerful. We are halfway there, and the next lesson is just as important. In rule number 6, we'll explore why pain is not the same as connection, and how to let go of the illusion that suffering binds us to others. Stay with me until the end. You deserve to find your own peace, your own freedom, and your own happiness. Rule number 6. Don't confuse pain with connection. After a breakup, the pain can feel overwhelming. You lie awake at night, replaying memories, wondering if the ache in your chest is proof that you loved deeply, that you lost something irreplaceable. But the truth is more complicated and perhaps more liberating. The sharp pain that follows separation does not necessarily mean the connection was genuine or enduring. Sometimes pain is simply the echo of change, the mind's natural reaction to loss, not a reliable sign of love's depth. It's easy to mistake suffering for meaning. Our brains are wired to respond intensely when a familiar presence vanishes. Like a limb that's suddenly gone, we experience a kind of emotional phantom pain, convincing ourselves that what hurts must have been vital. Yet if you look closely, you might see that much of this agony is not about the person, but about the disruption of routine, the shock of suddenly empty spaces, the discomfort of facing ourselves without distraction. Think of someone who spends hours rereading old messages, or who habitually checks an ex's social media long after the breakup. The sting isn't always about the other person's absence. Sometimes it's the anxiety that comes with unfamiliar quiet, the fear of not knowing who you are when a particular connection disappears. It's possible to feel the absence of something deeply, even if that thing was never truly right for you. Pain in these moments becomes a habit. The mind clings to it because it is familiar, even comforting, compared to the uncertain future. But a real connection is not measured by the wounds left behind. Just because something hurts does not mean it was good, or right, or meant for you. Sometimes the pain lingers simply because the mind resists letting go of what is known, even if that familiarity was unhealthy or unfulfilling. Letting go begins with recognizing that your suffering is not a monument to lost love, but a natural part of adjusting to change. When you understand this, you begin to separate your true feelings from the habits of longing and regret. You start to realize that what you miss is not always the person, but the comfort of routine, the reassurance of what once was. If you find yourself lost in sadness, ask, is this pain proof of love, or simply the mind's struggle with letting go? Remind yourself, a real connection should set you free, not keep you trapped in suffering. The courage to see pain for what it is, not a sign of lasting love, but a stage of healing, will lead you closer to genuine peace and the space for happiness to return. Rule number 7. Focus on who you're becoming, not who you've lost. Sometimes what hurts most isn't the absence of someone you cared about, but the empty echo of their memory that lingers inside your heart. You replay old conversations, hold on to moments that once felt endless, and wonder if you could ever be the same again. The truth is, you won't be the same, and you shouldn't wish for that. Every ending carries within it the seed of transformation. Losing someone is not the conclusion of your story, but the very moment you are offered the chance to become someone new, someone stronger, someone more in touch with your own worth. It's natural to feel lost after someone leaves. You might find yourself looking back, retracing every step, every word, asking if you could have changed the outcome. But this only traps you in a cycle of regret and longing for something that no longer exists. The question you should ask is not, how do I get them back, but who am I becoming because of this? What would happen if you turned that pain into fuel for growth, letting it shape, not shatter you? As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. The loss you're grieving, the person you can no longer hold on to, is not just an obstacle. It's the path to your next chapter. When you shift your focus from what you've lost to what you can become, you open yourself to possibilities that never existed before. You begin to realize that your life is not defined by those who leave, but by how you respond when left behind. You start seeing the space that loss creates, not as a void, but as fertile ground for new dreams, values, and purpose. With time, you'll notice subtle changes: the way you treat yourself, the boundaries you set, the dreams you dare to dream again. The pain that once felt like a burden gradually becomes a source of wisdom and quiet strength. You begin to rewrite your story, not as a victim of loss, but as the author of your own renewal. In every goodbye, there's a silent invitation to rediscover yourself, to reclaim your power, to become the person you were always meant to be. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting, nor does it erase the love or memories you once shared. It means choosing to prioritize your own growth, to invest your energy in the person you are still becoming. This shift is not easy, but it is liberating. The journey from grief to growth is never linear, but every step forward brings you closer to a version of yourself you can truly respect and love. And if you're wondering what it means to truly protect that newfound self, stay with me. In the next rule, we'll explore how to protect your own inner peace, and you might be surprised to discover just how much power you already hold within. Rule number 8. Protect your own inner peace. There comes a point in every journey of healing when you realize that your inner peace is not just a feeling, it's your most precious asset. It's more valuable than any relationship you've ever lost, and more enduring than any momentary comfort someone else could offer. Yet, after heartbreak or disappointment, we often hand over this treasure far too easily. We let someone who's no longer present in our life linger in our mind, influencing our mood, hijacking our energy, and dictating the rhythm of our days. Think about it. How many times have you checked your phone, waiting for a message that never came, or felt your heart race when you saw their name pop up unexpectedly? In those moments, your sense of calm, your confidence, even your focus, all of it is suddenly at the mercy of someone else's actions. When you allow another person to occupy that much space in your thoughts, you are, in effect, letting them rent your peace for free. This is not self-love. This is not respect for your own journey. So, how do you protect your peace? Sometimes it means making decisions that others might misunderstand. Imagine your ex reaches out, asking how you're doing. Instinctively, you might feel obligated to respond out of politeness, nostalgia, or even hope. But pause for a second. Ask yourself honestly, will this conversation nourish your spirit, or will it pull you back into old patterns of longing, confusion, and self-doubt? If replying cost you your calm, then silence is not coldness. It's a boundary. It's you choosing your well-being over unnecessary emotional turbulence. This isn't about shutting down emotionally or building walls so high that no one can get through. It's about recognizing the difference between healthy vulnerability and giving others the power to disrupt your life at their whim. It's about learning that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not to chase closure or clarity from someone else, but to close the door gently yourself. By doing so, you give your mind the space it needs to rest, reset, and grow stronger. Inner peace is not passive or weak. It's a quiet, steady strength that anchors you no matter what storms rage outside. When you protect it, you're telling yourself and the world that your well-being matters. You're learning to respect your own boundaries, to trust your instincts, and to value your own happiness as much as anyone else's. In the end, the one person you will always live with is yourself. Guard that relationship fiercely. Now, let's move forward to an equally powerful strategy. Rule number 9. Mastering this skill is a true mark of inner resilience. Whether you're left with unanswered questions or emotions that seem to have no resolution, learning to let go of the need for closure from others is a transformative step. Let's explore how you can find freedom by closing the chapter yourself on your own terms. Rule number 9. Don't look for closure from someone. Sometimes the hardest chapters of our lives end not with clear answers, but with silence. So many of us carry a quiet hope that one day the person who left will come back, explain everything, apologize, and finally help us make sense of what happened. We imagine that conversation, every why answered, every pain soothed, every question resolved. But reality rarely offers such perfect endings. More often, closure is a door that only you can close from your side. Consider the story of Emily, who spent months replaying old messages, looking for missed signs, trying to guess what went wrong after a sudden breakup. She told herself that if only her ex would meet her one last time, say sorry or just tell the truth, then she could move on. Yet every unanswered message, every silent day, only deepened the wound. That's the cruel truth about closure. The more you wait for it from someone else, the more you risk keeping yourself stuck in the past. Real healing starts the moment you stop waiting for the other person to give you permission to move forward. Sometimes you simply won't get the explanation you deserve. Sometimes the why is less important than your own peace of mind. Closure isn't a gift someone can hand to you. It's a choice you make, a promise to yourself that you won't let confusion and regret define your future. Letting go without closure isn't a weakness. It's an act of self-respect. You tell yourself, maybe I'll never know the full story and that's okay. I choose to stop searching for answers and start building a life that belongs to me. When you do this, you take back your power. You shift your energy from waiting and wondering to growing and living. Closure, in the end, is not a conversation or an apology. It is an acceptance that some stories end without explanations, and your new chapter can begin right now, simply because you choose it. Rule number 10. Choose freedom instead of living in illusion. There comes a moment in life when you must ask yourself a difficult question. Are you holding on to a real person, or just a memory? An idealized story you've created about them? Often, we find ourselves trapped not by the actual presence of someone in our lives, but by the narrative we build, a collection of moments, words, and hopes that have long ceased to exist. It's a comfort, perhaps, to hold on to the illusion, to pretend that the warmth of yesterday can somehow bring solace to today. But this comfort is fragile, and it keeps us chained to the past, unable to breathe freely in the present. Consider for a moment the pain of a friendship betrayed. You trusted, opened your heart, and believed in loyalty and sincerity. But when that trust is broken, you are left standing in the ruins of what once was. The temptation to relive old memories, to replay laughter and shared secrets can be overwhelming. You might find yourself scrolling through old messages, rereading jokes, and convincing yourself that the bond is still there if you just reach out again. But deep down, you know things have changed. The connection is gone, replaced by a shadow, a ghost that lingers only because you refuse to let go. Living in this illusion is a form of self-imprisonment. It feels safer to hold on to a fantasy than to face the emptiness of loss. Yet, there is a quiet strength in confronting reality, no matter how harsh it may seem. When you dare to see things as they are and to admit that the story has ended, you give yourself permission to grieve, to heal, and eventually to move forward. Freedom begins when you choose honesty over wishful thinking, when you stop renting out space in your mind to someone who is no longer truly there. It is not a weakness to let go. It is an act of courage. By embracing the truth, by stepping out of illusion, you reclaim your freedom. Only then can you make room for new connections, for genuine happiness, and for a life that belongs to you, not to a memory, not to an illusion, but to the present moment and the person you are becoming. Letting go does not mean you have stopped loving. It simply means you remember that you deserve peace and happiness. Stoicism doesn't teach us to be emotionless, but to understand and manage our feelings, to redirect them toward growth and positive change. Every time you choose to let go, you are choosing yourself. You are reclaiming your inner strength, your values, and your future. True healing begins the moment you return to yourself, stronger, wiser, and more at peace than before. This is the turning point that will lead you to a happier life. If you found value in this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. Stay with us on this journey of self-discovery and healing. Remember, you are not alone, and your peace is always worth fighting for. See you in the next video.